ever catch yourself like daydreaming about that, ideal life, like living your best life? What if I told you instead of waiting years to get there, what if you could experience it right now?
Now, that'd be something.
Right.
Yeah.
That's where this idea of quantum leaping comes in.
Yeah, and it's a wild one. The source we're diving into for this deep dive, it blends quantum physics with the law of attraction and meditation.
It's a lot.
Yeah, it's suggesting that we actually have way more influence over our reality than we think.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds kind of like a sci-fi movie, to be honest.
It does.
Like, are we really talking about jumping into alternate universes here?
Well, that's what they're suggesting.
Okay.
Yeah, the source claims there's real science behind it, that it all ties back to quantum physics. They're talking about concepts like multiple realities and entanglement.
Yeah, I was getting lost a little bit in some of these explanations.
It's heavy stuff.
It is. So, like, for those of us who don't have a PhD in theoretical physics, can we break this down? What's the main takeaway here?
Yeah, so basically, they're suggesting that our consciousness, it might not just observe reality, but actually influence it.
Okay.
You know, sometimes you're looking for something and it's like just the act of looking for it makes it appear.
Yeah.
Like you weren't paying attention and then it's, oh, there it is.
Totally.
So in quantum physics, there's this term called the observer effect. And that kind of gets at that idea. But this source takes it a step further and suggests that that effect maybe could extend to shaping the actual fabric of our reality, not just finding your lost keys.
Okay. So it's not just about observing. It's about, like, actively participating in what we're experiencing.
Exactly. And it all comes down to energy. The source even brings up this physicist, Dr. Amit Goswami, and he's a real guy who links quantum physics with spirituality,
Oh, wow.
which I thought was fascinating.
That is interesting.
So it adds another layer of intrigue to all of this.
Definitely. And speaking of intrigue, that brings us to what I think is, like, the most mind-blowing part of this whole thing.
Okay.
They dive deep into the subconscious mind, right?
Yeah.
And they say that our subconscious, get this, it processes 11 million bits of information per second,
It's a lot.
compared to our conscious minds, like 40.
It puts things in perspective, doesn't it?
It really does. So, like, while we're over here struggling to remember where we put our keys, our subconscious is, like, running a whole other program in the background.
Yeah, exactly. And here's where it gets really interesting. So the source claims that our subconscious, it doesn't actually differentiate between real and imagined memories.
Hold on. So if I'm, like, daydreaming about my dream life, my subconscious is basically filing that away as an actual memory.
Yeah. They're saying it treats them as the same.
Wow. So then does that mean, like, my subconscious can't tell the difference, and so it impacts my reality?
That is the question.
Okay.
And that's what this source is exploring. And it's a pretty wild thought, because if our subconscious can't really tell the difference between what's real and what we've just imagined, then maybe, just maybe, we can actually reprogram it to kind of shift our reality.
See, that's actually a really empowering thought. But on the flip side, does that mean that we could be unintentionally holding ourselves back with, like, negative subconscious programming?
That's the other side of it. And that is exactly where we'll dive into all the practical techniques that the source offers, like meditation, mindset shifts, and what they call quantum energy. We'll get into all that after the break.
Okay, so we've got our subconscious mind primed with, like, visions of our best lives, all those daydreams, but how do we actually, like, tap into this whole quantum energy thing to make it a reality?
Yeah, so the source, they actually get pretty specific here. They describe this meditation technique
Okay.
that's supposed to do just that, tap into that energy.
Okay, so walk me through it. What does this meditation actually look like in practice?
So you start with deep relaxation, pretty similar to like traditional meditation. But then it gets interesting. You shift your focus to this idea of quantum energy,
Okay.
like almost imagining this field of infinite possibilities all around you.
Oh, interesting. So it's not about, like, emptying my mind. It's more like I'm filling it with this, like, energy and possibility.
Exactly. Yeah. And here's like the really key part. You visualize yourself in your desired reality,
Okay.
but not as some distant goal. It's like you're actually experiencing it right now.
Oh, wow. So it's not just daydreaming, it's more like embodying that feeling of already having what I want.
Exactly. It's the powerful stuff. You're essentially sending this really strong message to your subconscious.
Oh, wow.
And that message is basically saying this is real. So you're blurring those lines between just imagining it and actually living it.
It's almost like acting then. Like, I'm playing the role of my future self, and they've already achieved all these things.
That's a cool way to put it. And I think that's what makes this technique so interesting, because
Yeah.
it's not just about thinking it, it's about feeling it, believing it on this really deep level.
So there's like an emotional component to it, almost like a leap of faith involved.
100%. The source actually, they make a really big point about this. They say that doubt is like kryptonite to this whole process.
Oh, that makes sense.
Like if we're putting out these mixed messages, saying we want something but not really believing we can have it, we're kind of sabotaging ourselves from the inside out, right?
Totally. So we've got the meditation, the importance of that mindset shift, but earlier you mentioned that there was some skepticism surrounding these ideas. So I kind of want to dive into that a little bit. What are the critics saying?
Right. So while our source is like super enthusiastic about all this, they're really gung-ho, it's important to point out that there are some valid criticisms out there. Some people argue that this whole interpretation of quantum physics is a little bit of a stretch,
Okay.
going too far beyond what the science actually says.
So it's not as simple as saying, oh, quantum physics proves that we can manifest our dream lives.
Yeah, not quite. There's a lot of debate about it, in the scientific community and spiritual communities about how these concepts actually intersect.
Yeah.
And some critics worry about people misinterpreting these ideas or making claims that aren't really backed up by science.
So it's really about approaching all of this with a discerning mind, being open to new possibilities,
Yeah.
but not just taking everything we read as like gospel truth.
Exactly. It's about finding that balance
Okay.
between healthy skepticism and, keeping your mind open to new ideas. And I think, even if we don't necessarily buy into every single claim, it does make you wonder,
Yeah.
what if there's even like a tiny grain of truth to all of this?
Right. Like, what if our beliefs really do have some kind of influence, even in small ways?
It's a trip.
It makes you think.
It does. And that leads us to what I think is probably the most important point that the source makes. And that's this. They're calling on everyone to experiment.
Okay.
Try these techniques out, not because it's like some guaranteed formula or anything, but just as a personal exploration. See what happens.
So instead of getting caught up in the debate about whether it's true or not, the best way to figure out if this resonates with us is to just give it a shot ourselves.
Exactly. What if just by like shifting our perspective a little bit, embracing more empowering beliefs, maybe tapping into this quantum energy,
Yeah.
what if we could unlock a little more of our potential? I mean, that's got to be worth exploring, right?
Right. Like the proof is in the pudding, as they say.
There you go. And hey, even if we don't end up leaping into alternate realities, these techniques, they might still have some benefits. Like maybe they can help us stress less, be more self-aware, have a better sense of purpose.
It's like a win-win situation. We either tap into all the amazing possibilities of the quantum realm, or we just improve our experience of like this current reality that we're in.
Exactly. And who knows? Maybe those two things, maybe they're more connected than we realize.
Ooh, I like
Yeah.
that. Yeah. A little bit of mystery to keep us curious, right?
Always.
Keeps things interesting. It's wild to think that maybe, just maybe,
Yeah.
by like tweaking our beliefs
Yeah.
and like tapping into this quantum energy, we could
Mhm.
actually like nudge our reality in a different direction.
It's a trip, right? That
Yeah.
It really makes you think, like, what is possible?
Totally.
I don't know. It reminds me of that saying, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right.
Right.
But this is like taking that to a whole other level.
It's not even just about our beliefs, like impacting our own little individual experience. It's
Yeah.
about like all of it,
Yeah.
like impacting the fabric of reality itself.
Totally. Yeah. And it brings us back to that initial question, right? Like, what if you could experience that dream life now?
Yeah.
Not years from now, right now. It's like, it makes you really confront those limitations, those like self-imposed boundaries that we put on ourselves.
Yeah, it's like a call to action almost.
Yes.
Like to just step outside of what's comfortable,
Total.
challenge all those assumptions.
Embrace a bigger vision, right?
Yes.
For ourselves, for the world around us, for everything.
And while this source is like really into all these like big wild concepts,
Mm-hmm.
they also are very upfront about the fact that like it's a journey, it's a process.
Yeah.
Like there's no magic formula here.
Right.
There's no like overnight transformation.
Sadly not.
Right. Like it's about those baby steps.
That's the little things, right?
Yeah, those little things that we do every day to kind of like inch closer.
It all adds up.
It does, right. And it's not about like waiting for this big massive shift to happen.
No.
It's recognizing that it's those little subtle things.
Consistency is key,
Yeah,
you know.
it is. It's those little things that we do consistently that I think really make a big difference in the long run.
Well, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's all about, I don't know, it's like cultivating that mindset of growth,
Totally.
of like always learning new things.
Yeah, being open to new perspectives, being cool with not knowing everything.
Being okay with the unknown.
Exactly.
Right. Which is kind of scary.
It can be.
But I think also like that's where the good stuff is, right?
Yeah. Yeah, 100%.
Like outside that comfort zone.
That's where the magic happens. Yeah.
It is. So I guess like as we kind of, I don't know, wrap up this whole deep dive into the world of quantum leaping,
Yeah.
I think the question for everyone listening to kind of sit with is, what if you could design your ideal reality?
Mm.
What would that look like? How would that feel?
How would it feel? That's the important part.
It is. And what's that one small step that you can take like today?
To start to bridge that gap between where you're at and where you want to be.
That's a good one.
I don't know. It's really interesting stuff. And I really appreciate you like diving into this with me.
Yeah, of course. It's been fun.
It has been. And to all of our listeners out there, thank you for joining us for this deep dive.
Thanks, everyone.
We'll catch you next time. Until then, keep exploring, keep questioning,
Keep leaping.
and keep reaching for those extraordinary possibilities
Yeah.
that are out there waiting for you.